Welcome, bienvenidos, bienvenido to the Soccermetrics Copa Libertadores show, a production of Soccermetrics and Soccer Down Here, the only English language podcast devoted to South America's premier club competition. I'm Howard Hamilton, the founder of Soccermetrics. This will not be your typical episode of news and information about the Copa Libertadores. Rather, South American football is in deep mourning. 5 days after collapsing to the turf, near the conclusion of the Copa Libertadores quarterfinal second leg between Nacional de Montevideo and Sao Paulo Futebol Clube, Juan Izquierdo, the 27-year-old center back for Nacional, died on Tuesday, August 27, 2024. This episode is dedicated to Juan Izquierdo's memory. In it, I will recap the recent day's events, look back at the life of Juan Izquierdo, and share reactions of teammates, officials, and supporters in Uruguay, South America, and the rest of the world. Last Thursday, August 22nd, Sao Paulo were hosting Nacional de Montevideo in the second leg of the round of 16 of the 2024 Copa Libertadores. There were 6 minutes of normal time remaining in the match. The local time was 8:45 in the evening. At that moment, Juan Izquierdo, playing as center back for Nacional, was standing alone in the middle of the center circle, but leaning to his right side. He started to take 3 to 4 lateral steps to his right. Then, he staggered about 10 more lateral steps in rapid succession until he collapsed to the ground at the outer edge of the center circle. His Nacional teammate, Leandro Lozano, immediately took notice as he started his fall, attempted to catch him, and waved frantically for aid. Sao Paulo's Rodrigo Nestor, playing in midfield, also took notice and waved to the sidelines to presumably the medical crew in a call for assistance. Within 10 seconds, 4 members of the Nacional medical staff converged upon Izquierdo. A medical cart quickly followed. A stadium ambulance entered the field and accelerated toward the center circle, stopping about 5 meters from Izquierdo. By that time, 35 seconds had passed. Within 4 minutes, Izquierdo was loaded into the ambulance, which sped off the field and carried him to the Albert Einstein Israelite Hospital in Sao Paulo. Located less than 1 kilometer from the stadium, the Albert Einstein is considered to be the best hospital in Latin America, with a particularly strong reputation in cardiology and heart health. I describe these events to show that Izquierdo received the best possible care. He was responded to in the quickest time possible, and all resources were applied in order to address his critical health situation. The initial diagnosis of Juan Izquierdo was a cardiac arrhythmia. At 10:45 p.m. local time, Club Nacional's X feed posted the following message, and I translate. Juan Izquierdo suffered a cardiac arrhythmia during the match against Sao Paulo. He is being attended in the ITC, Intensive Therapy Center, of the Albert Einstein Hospital. He is currently in stable condition and under observation. We will maintain updates of the situation. It's worth mentioning that the ITC, or CTI in Spanish and Portuguese, is not the same as intensive care unit or ICU. The ITC is one level of criticality below the ICU. At the time, there were rumors that Izquierdo had suffered cardiac arrest, had been intubated, and was in the intensive care unit fighting for his life. Not only did Nacional refute these rumors, but Izquierdo's family denied them as well. His sister Sofia made a statement through Instagram that took aim at supposed misinformation about his health. Quote, "His heart is still beating. Please show some respect," she pleaded. On Friday, the majority of the Nacional players returned to Uruguay. 7 teammates, including the defender who Izquierdo replaced on the night, Sebastian Coates, and the one who tried to catch his fall, Leandro Lozano, kept vigil at the hospital. Nacional published another update at 3:16 p.m. that stated the following. Juan is stable with a heart arrhythmia. He remains sedated in the ITC, where he will continue to be under observation for at least the next 72 hours. On Saturday, the last of the Nacional teammates who had remained in Sao Paulo returned to Montevideo. And just the immediate family, the Nacional sporting director and a Nacional board member remained at the hospital. At this time, it was starting to become clear that Izquierdo's situation was serious. He was diagnosed with a cardiac arrhythmia, yet he wasn't stable enough to return to Montevideo. The situation was becoming increasingly strange and increasingly serious. Later that afternoon, the hospital released a statement that expressed the seriousness of Izquierdo's condition, and I quote, "The patient, Juan Manuel Izquierdo Viana, was admitted to the Albert Einstein Israelite Hospital on August 22, 2024 at 8:55 p.m. in cardiac arrest secondary to an arrhythmia. The hospital immediately initiated CPR, including defibrillation, which resulted in the patient recovering circulation. Since then, Juan has been in the intensive care unit, sedated, on medical ventilation, and under intensive neurological care," end quote. From this point, the narrative changed. On Sunday, the hospital released an update on his condition at 5:30 p.m. Quote, "The patient Juan Manuel Izquierdo Viana was submitted to new tests on Sunday the 25th. The evaluation indicates a progression of brain damage and an increase in intracranial pressure." On Monday, the hospital stated that Izquierdo remained in the intensive care unit, quote, "on mechanical ventilation and in a critical neurological state." Later that day, the Uruguayan consul in Sao Paulo, Marta Echarte, gave her assessment of the situation to an Uruguayan radio station. Quote, "Juan Izquierdo's situation is very delicate, not at all encouraging, and practically irreversible." Finally, on Tuesday, the hospital made a brief and tragic statement. Quote, "The Albert Einstein Israelite Hospital reports with regret the death of Juan Manuel Izquierdo, occurring on Tuesday, August 27, 2024 at 9:38 p.m. due to brain death after a cardiac arrest associated with a cardiac arrhythmia," end quote. Juan Manuel Izquierdo Viana was born on July 4, 1997, in the Nuevo Paris neighborhood of Montevideo. From humble beginnings, he learned to play football in the street, and then baby football on San Francisco de Assisi. He described his childhood as humble, yet rich in other ways. Quote, I didn't have the possibility of luxuries like cell phones, but I didn't lack for anything either. My father always had work, and my mother raised us. I never walked around with holes in my shoes, but I wasn't rich. End quote. At 16 years of age, he entered the youth academy at Liverpool de Montevideo, where he first met Nicolas de la Cruz and Juan Ignacio Ramirez, both of which would go on to professional careers. Izquierdo's path to professional football was longer, and he left football to work in construction alongside his father. Over 3 years, he worked as an apprentice, learning not just the craft, but also the importance of putting in an honest day's work every day. He returned to football much more mature and focused, and in 2018, he debuted in the Uruguayan top flight with Cerro as a center back. He made 32 appearances and scored 1 goal, which placed him on the radar of one half of the Uruguayan Giants' pinnacle. In 2019, he would ply his trade with El Carbonero, but it would end in disappointment. Just 5 appearances in a trophyless season. In January of 2020, he moved across town to Wanderers, where he played the rest of the year. His standout match for the Bohemians was a match-winning brace against Liverpool of Montevideo on November 30th. In February of 2021, Izquierdo looked to continue his career abroad, and he signed with Atlético San Luis of Liga MX. Unfortunately, his stay was a short and unsuccessful one. Initially starting 2 matches, before being shunted to the bench for 2 more matches, and then relegated to the reserve team. By August of that year, he had returned to Wanderers, where he made 14 more appearances. In 2022, the other giant of Uruguayan football, Nacional, took him on. Nacional would win the Uruguayan League that year, but Izquierdo had little to do with it. He suffered a stress fracture in his tibia and played just 13 minutes of the league season. In 2023, he would move back to Liverpool, the club of his grandfather. And this is where he achieved his greatest success as a professional. Over the 2023 season, he became the starting center back for the Negri Azules, making 31 league appearances and 5 appearances in the Copa Libertadores, scoring 3 goals, all in the league, and leading the club to their first Uruguayan championship in their 104-year history. By doing so, he fulfilled a promise to his dying grandfather that he would become champion with Liverpool. This year, he returned to Nacional as one of Alvaro Recola's recruits to fill defensive needs. He appeared in 26 league matches and scored his only goal for El Decano in a 4-2 win over Racing de Montevideo. His last appearance in the Uruguayan League was in a 3-3 draw against River Plate of Montevideo. In the Copa Libertadores, he made 7 appearances, 6 of which were starts. The only match that he did not start was that last match of his life against Sao Paulo at the Morumbi Stadium. Juan Izquierdo is survived by his wife, Selena, and his 2 daughters, one a 2-year-old and the other born 12 days ago on August 17th. The passing of Juan Izquierdo has been marked by heartfelt sorrow and commemoration in Uruguay, South America, and the rest of the world. Club Nacional, in their ex-post announcing the death, stated, quote, all of Nacional is in mourning because of this irreparable loss. Rest in peace, Juan. You'll always be with us, end quote. The club lowered its flags to half-mast and declared 5 days of mourning. The top two divisions of Uruguayan football had suspended their matches while Izquierdo's life hung in the balance. On Wednesday, the Uruguayan Football Federation released a statement that expressed their sentiments at Izquierdo's passing, describing him as a player who was, quote, appreciated and much loved by his colleagues at all of the clubs that he played for, end quote, and was an example of the highest values of our sport. The Federation declared a period of mourning until the following Sunday, during which no matches will take place, and will provide the highest burial honors to their fallen player. On Wednesday morning, a Uruguayan Air Force transport flew to Sao Paulo to collect the body of Izquierdo and transport him on his final journey to his home country. The emotions surrounding the teammates of Nacional are absolutely heart-wrenching. Mateo Antoni, a fellow defender who was Izquierdo's roommate in pre-match hotels, said that he was an incredible person, quote, helped him, advised him, pushed him, swore at him, laughed at him, hugged him, loved him. I know we will have each other's backs, Antoni said. Diego Polenta, who is Nacional's captain, said, quote, thanks for allowing me to know you. Thanks for your companionship. Thanks for everything. I've lost the sailor of my ship, the soldier in my army, but we'll keep fighting for you. Ruben Betancourt, Leandro Lozano, and Luis Mejia also have powerful words. No greater figure than Luis Suarez, who played with Izquierdo at Nacional in 2022, stated that he was feeling pain and sadness that were difficult to explain. Many clubs throughout South America, up and down the football pyramid, expressed condolences. Peñarol, Nacional's eternal rival, River Plate of Argentina, Boca Juniors, Colo-Colo, Olimpia de Asunción, Alianza Lima, Fluminense, even Juventus of Italy. And of course, the heads of CONMEBOL and FIFA expressed their sentiments. Izquierdo received a particularly emotional tribute in Sao Paulo, where the fans not only gave him a moment of silence, but 5 Sao Paulo players traveled to Montevideo for the wake. The Sao Paulo supporters have effectively said that Izquierdo fell on their home ground, and he's part of us now. But the final, most emotional message was expressed by Selena, Juan's wife. Her words were the following, quote, today I had to say goodbye to my better half, to the love of my life. Today a part of me died with you. You were a great person, noble, loving, without evil. You were an angel on this earth, and you'll be an angel in heaven, end quote. So there are 2 questions that remain in the aftermath of Izquierdo's passing. The first issue is, did Izquierdo receive the best care? I think the answer to this is affirmative, that he did. Brazil's TV Global had an interview with Andre Pedrinelli, who was the official field doctor on duty for CONMEBOL for the Sao Paulo Nacional match. At the time of Izquierdo's event, there was another player for Sao Paulo receiving treatment, and the doctor had a tablet that was streaming the match video with a 3-second delay. But if you watch the video of the event, which honestly, I do not recommend that you do that, you'll see that the medical staff are on the field and by Izquierdo's side within seconds. The stadium ambulance is at his side within seconds, less than 30, 35 seconds. Within 4 minutes, he's loaded into the ambulance. The ambulance is departing the field. As Pedronelli states in the interview, the movements of the medical staff are rehearsed before the match, so everyone knows what to do. CONMEBOL receives a lot of criticism for their organization, a lot of it deserved. But in the medical response to Izquierdo, they got it right and the procedures worked. The hospital that Izquierdo went to was literally within blocks of the stadium, and it is the best hospital in Brazil. It's the best hospital in Latin America. So I think there is little doubt that Juan Izquierdo received the best care possible to give himself the best chance at survival. And it's a real shame that that did not happen. So there's one remaining question. Why did the match continue? I haven't mentioned the scoreline of the match because it's totally irrelevant, and I'm not going to mention it here. But the time was effectively over by this point. The medical event occurred in the 84th minute. And by that time, by the time the ambulance left the stadium and the medical and security staffs had cleared the field, the match had already crossed over into the 90th minute. Yet the referee chose to play 15 minutes of stoppage time at a moment that no one was mentally capable of doing so. Other matches that have had similar events were suspended. Now, the remainder of this match passed without incident, but there's no reason why the match should not have concluded after that point. Common sense should really have prevailed here. A public wake took place for Izquierdo at Nacional's headquarters before thousands of foreign supporters, club and government officials, and professional players from all over the continent. The family will have a private burial within the next 24 hours. Nacional will have a next match at some point in the future. Their next programmed match is against Liverpool de Montevideo, Juan Izquierdo's former club. And Juan Izquierdo will not be there. But his history and now his legacy run through both sides. I hope that you appreciated this tribute to the life of Juan Izquierdo, a life devoted to football, his teammates, and his family, cut way too short at the age of 27. This has been the Soccermetrics Copa Libertadores show, a production of Soccermetrics and Soccer Down Here. See you later. Hasta luego. Ate mais. Rest in peace, Juan Izquierdo. Y en paz descanse.